Rebecca Craddock with Hawkeye Commercial Real Estate Services and the East Orlando Chamber. We are here at Najana Mediterranean Grill in Avalon Park for Testimonial Tuesday. I'm here with Justin Meyer, partner of Rosenthal Meyer. Hi.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for being with us today, Justin. So, we want to learn all about Justin Meyer for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So, my first question to you is, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh man, what I want to be when I grew up, I wanted to be a Met. I wanted to be a Mets baseball player. I was real specific in that too. I didn't want to play for any other team.
Okay, so I guess it begs the question, where did you grow up?
I grew up on Long Island, son and grandson of Mets fans, Jets fans, and Islanders fans. So I knew a lot of pain growing up.
So you played baseball then when you were a teen?
I wouldn't say I was on baseball teams. There's a reason I'm a lawyer now, not a baseball player. I wouldn't go so far as to say I played as much as I watched, but real close. Usually the dugout position is sometimes the right field if they had it.
All right. So you had no ambitions of being an attorney until you realized your baseball dreams were just not going to come to fruition?
Actually, so long as actually the second or third career for me. After I graduated and I was working in education, museums, and schools.
And you graduated from
University of Maryland.
Go Terps.
Go Terps. I'm a proud graduate of the University of Maryland. I graduated, I worked in museums and education for a little while, schools and whatnot. And then I worked as a writer and started doing legal writing, started doing more work on the legal side. And then I said, well, this seems like a good career, and went to law school, and here I am.
Where did you go to law school?
College of William and Mary, which is now actually just calls itself William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia, the oldest law school in the country.
Okay. So, how long have you been practicing law?
I was first licensed in 2011, and so I've been practicing for about 13 years now.
Okay. So you're kind of good at it?
I'm kind of good at it.
Okay.
I try to be good at it.
Okay. And I think you said one thing that you specialize in is real estate, like helping buyers and sellers?
So we have a pretty full transactional practice for real estate.
Okay.
We work with buyers and sellers on both residential and commercial deals. We also help landlords and tenants, both on the residential and the business side. And that's everything from buying a townhome or a condo to buying an apartment complex.
So when would somebody need the advice of a real estate attorney as opposed to just going through a real estate agent to handle the transaction?
So I'll tell you, any commercial deal, I think you need an attorney involved. My standard belief is that commercial deals have enough going on that you need an attorney involved. There's additional things you need to look at, rent rolls and whatnot. On the residential side, there's some really good agents out there, and I work with them, I know them. Having an attorney helps, but you don't necessarily need one. I'll tell you though, my biggest group of clients on the residential side are people from the Northeast. New Yorkers, people from New Jersey, Connecticut. They're used to having an attorney, and they're not used to how Florida real estate works. The example that I give is, as you laugh, what's a standard home closing for residential real estate in Florida? It's about 30 to 40 days. Mm-hmm. In New York, we put a closing date on the contract. That's 90 days out from the contract date, and it is a mere suggestion of when we think we might get around to starting the closing process. If we close within 30 days of that 90-day closing date that we put on the contract, we're all ecstatic. And that's that can be kind of a culture shock because people think real estate works the same everywhere. So they come here and they're like, okay, yeah, the contract says we're going to close on June 1st, but we're really not really starting to pack yet. We figure you probably have until the end of June. I said, no, you need to be ready. If your contract says you're closing on June 1st, there may be a day of room there. Like you may close on the 2nd or the 3rd based on availability of a closing room. But you're closing. Like you don't have a month after. You have a day or two at max. And so it's that culture shock. It's that, oh wow, this is going to move a lot faster. And so that's a lot of my clients, especially purchasers coming down just helping them kind of deal with the difference in how Florida real estate gets done.
What's the stickiest situation you've ever unstuck as far as real estate goes?
The stickiest situation I've ever unstuck. Ooh, there's been a lot of them. We had one where a seller had refinanced a mortgage and had forgotten he'd done a refinance and he'd paid it off. And you're talking about 30 years. He paid it off 30 years ago. He paid it off in the 90s, and the fact that that's 30 years ago really depresses me. But that's a different discussion for another day. I feel real old as I tell the story now, but he refinanced it in the 90s and he'd forgotten about it. Or he paid it off in the 90s and forgot about it, but they'd never filed a lien release, or satisfaction of mortgage. And it was, the bank didn't exist anymore. So we had to go chasing down the bank. We ended up getting it to Bank of America, who owned the bank that had bought the bank that had done the original mortgage. And it took a lot of phone calls, but we got it done. But that may be one of them. We've dealt with people who have had probates that they didn't know about. We've had to probate estates kind of on the fly. We've dealt with sellers who can't be in the same room as each other, buyers who can't be in the same room as each other. It gets interesting. Real estate is never dull.
This is true. So, and speaking of never being dull, you are never dull, Justin. You have determined that you are always on. So, I want to know, what is your go-to morning beverage? Because obviously you have something in the morning that gets you up and running and moving throughout the day.
Earl Grey tea. I don't drink coffee, which means I go to coffee club every week and just sit there thirsty. Luckily, sometimes there's water, but I don't drink coffee. I drink diet soda sometimes, but the first thing I do when I get to my office pretty much every week is I have a nice stone cup with a lid on it, and I grab it and I fill it, I make my tea, and that's how I start my day. And at home on the weekend, sometimes I have Earl Grey, but I also have some loose teas that I like. And when I have more time, sometimes I'll make a nice bottle of loose tea.
Are you a lemon and honey kind of guy, or?
I am not. I drink it straight. So I like lemon, and I'll use it for other things. I love honey. I'll eat that straight. I'll just sit there, put honey on a spoon and sit there and eat it, which can't be healthy for me now that I think about it. But I don't put any of that in my tea.
All right, so on to our next question. You had let me know that you do advanced directives
Yes.
for college students.
Yes.
So, you want to tell us a little bit about that, because you said, once they're 18 and they're adults, the parents kind of lose a little bit of a grip on them. So walk us through, what it's like to be, the parent of an 18-year-old college student and what they have to do to kind of keep an eye on them and help them and guide them.
So, and this is near and dear to my heart because I've got a student who's going to be a junior next year. She's heading off to college in 2 years. Again, I feel old now, right? So people think, especially parents who are sending their kids to college, well, I'm paying for college, I have access to my kids' information. And it's not true. Unfortunately, once your child turns 18, they're an adult. Legally, they're an adult. And that means you get cut off from all access information. This isn't even just for college kids, because you have some high school students who are 18.
So even if they sign something with the college saying, if my parents call, you can give them my
So
information.
they have to sign something with the college.
Okay.
And that lets the college release information about their academic performance, right? You want to know their grades, you want to know how they're doing, you want to be able to talk to their professors. Don't go talking to their professors, let them handle that, they're adults now. But you need that. But what if they want to do a study abroad for a semester and you need to pay their rent? You can't access their bank account without a power of attorney. So because they're over 18, you need a power.
You're assuming that they have a bank account.
Well, yeah. Once they're over 18, if you want to have access to their financial information or do anything on their behalf financially, you need a power of attorney for it. That means representing them, helping them in a lawsuit, signing documents for them. That means, accessing their bank accounts if they have their own bank account. Once they turn 18, you lose all that access. The other side of that nobody really thinks about is once they turn 18, they get to make all their own healthcare choices, which is fine. But what if they can't? Right? What if they can't make their own healthcare choices because they've been in an accident? In order for a parent to be able to get access to make medical decisions for them, they would in fact need to even go to the court and petition for that right. They have to be a guardian, and that petition for guardianship, and that can take a long time. You may not always have that. Having a healthcare proxy and a living will is really important for 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-olds, because if somebody needs to make medical decisions for them, you need access to that information to them right away. You need those documents.
So what stage in the child's life do you suggest the parent starts working on this? Before they turn 18, or do they already need to be 18?
They can't sign it until they're 18. So you can start having that conversation about 17 and a half, but they can't sign the documents until they're 18. The best time to do it is now. And I don't mean like right now because I think bad things are going to happen. But I mean now, right? May, June, July. Kids are coming home for the summer. College is ending. The semester is ending. Kids are coming home. You can have them sit down with an attorney, with us or with somebody else, but I like us. Have them sit down with an attorney. Rosenthal Meyer. We're right down the street in downtown Avalon Park. But have them sit down with an attorney. I like to let kids lead the discussion. I like to let kids know what they're signing. Yes, they're there because their parents want them to be there, but I have the discussion with them. They're the client. I let them know that they have a choice and they can say they can do what they want. But this is why we're doing what we're doing, and making sure they understand the reasoning of the why. And I treat them, I'd want to be treated that age, right? You're a young adult, and you need to make decisions for yourself. And here we go. We're going to start with this. And then we bring them back and they sign everything. But they can't sign it until they're 18. So 17 and a half, almost 18 is a good time to start the conversation. We can start working on the documents. I've had people who, for various reasons, needed the child to sign it, right as they turned 18. Birthday's on Tuesday, they're in my office on Wednesday, sign it. And those mean sometimes special circumstances, children with special needs who need extra assistance. But we just take care of it. Now is the good time to have that conversation. As the kids are coming home, there's a good 2-month, 3-month block of time to really kind of get all of that in.
Okay. Does it take a long time for that process to go through?
It takes as long as you want it to. Right? I mean, that's kind of the answer to it is we can get it done pretty quickly if you need us to. And if you're doing study abroad, you need us to. But if you don't want to rush it, if the child wants to take some time, you can talk about it, think about it. We can do it over 2 months. There's a lot of flexibility in it and how long we're going to take to do it based upon really on the family's needs.
Okay. So you mentioned that you have a junior in high school. So we talked a little bit about the professional side of Justin. Talk to me about a day in the life of Justin Meyer. What do you do? Like on a Saturday?
On a Saturday?
Yeah.
So there's no one typical day for me. I have 2 children who couldn't be more different. My daughter is going to be a junior. She's a sophomore now. She's going to be a junior. My son is going to be in 4th grade now. He's going to be in 5th grade. And they could not be more different, those 2 children. They both love food, but only one of them likes to help in making it. The other one just wants to eat it. So there's usually a lot of cooking on a Saturday or Sunday in our house.
Instacart?
No.
Or do you actually go to the store and shop?
I actually go to the store and shop.
Okay.
In part because I never really know what I'm going to make until the last minute, which means my freezer is full of packages of chicken and ground beef that I've opened and forgotten are in there. I'm going to have to start cataloging it all. But we'll sit down, we'll talk about what do we want to eat, and we'll plan out sometimes some really interesting meals. Like I made fresh pasta this weekend because I got gifted some farm fresh eggs, so I have a lot of eggs in my house.
You made the pasta from scratch?
I made the pasta from scratch.
Yum. Many talents.
I made spaghetti from scratch. I made a little too much spaghetti from scratch, but I made spaghetti from scratch.
It's okay.
And then on Sunday, I made a Filipino dish called pork tocino, which is pork that's marinated in pineapple juice, brown sugar, soy sauce, and garlic. And I think I'm forgetting something. And paprika overnight. You let that sit, and then you cook it in the marinade until the marinade becomes like a sticky, like syrup, and it caramelizes a bit. It's really good. You eat that with fried eggs and garlic fried rice. And that was brunch on Sunday.
So Justin's catering the next party, is that what I'm hearing?
No, Justin can cook far too much food for 2 people, but not enough food for 20. It's a real mix. I know how to make for about 8 people, that's about it.
Oh, well, we can have a small party, that's okay. Speaking of food, let's take a break to remind everybody that we're here at Najana Mediterranean Grill in Avalon Park for our Testimonial Tuesday with the East Orlando Chamber. I'm Rebecca Craddock, Sales Associate with Pop Paper Commercial Real Estate, and I'm here with Justin Meyer of Rosenthal Meyer, also located in Avalon Park, here to take care of a lot of your legal needs. Speaking of, I have another question for you.
Okay.
FinCEN filings. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it and why should we know about it?
So FinCEN is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and it's all over the place. When you deal with real estate deals, you run into them a lot. And one thing that they've started doing is they said that we want all businesses to register. And that means almost all of them, right? There's some exceptions. If you're a nonprofit, you don't have to register. If you're a business that's not doing anything, you don't have to register. And if you're publicly traded, you have to register. For the most part, any other business had to register with them. There were a couple of lawsuits to try and stop it. Those lawsuits have been somewhat successful, but not entirely. We have been advising our clients to hold off and wait because we were waiting to see what the lawsuits would happen in the lawsuits. And the orders have not been as broad as we thought they'd be. They've been very narrow, applying only to a few businesses. So we're now telling clients that they're going to need to start registering their company under what's called the Corporate Transparency Act, or CTA. And if you are a new company, you have 90 days to get it done from data formation. This year, you have 90 days from data formation. Next year, if you start a new company, you have 30 days from data formation. This year, it's 90 from data formation. But if you have a company that was formed by December 31, 2023, then you have until the end of this year. So we were kind of slow playing it and waiting to see what would happen with some of the lawsuits. They're not going the way we thought they would go, so we're going to start recommending to clients that they start actually filing. You can do it yourself. All you need is a picture of your driver's license and some other information, but we're also taking care of that for people who ensure compliance and make sure they're doing it right. You also, in addition to filing, it's a one-time thing, and the government doesn't charge you a fee, but you do have to update your registration anytime you change beneficial ownership. What is beneficial ownership? It's anybody who's got control over the company. And that's where things get tricky. If you're a single owner company and you know you're the only person who's got an ownership interest, this is easy. If you're a company with partners and part of it's owned by a trust, that's really where you want to start talking to an attorney about who do I need to register, who needs to be identified. And the penalties are criminal penalties, $5,000 a day if you don't file it correctly. So, and I could be wrong with that number, but it's up there. And so it can be pretty stiff.
So if you have a business and it's registered in Sunbiz,
It's not the same thing.
It's not the same? Okay.
So Sunbiz is the Florida registration of businesses, right? That's all the businesses doing business in Florida.
Okay.
Or it should be. If you're doing business in Florida and you're not registered in Sunbiz, call me, we'll fix that. We'll talk about what you need to be. But this is different. So Sunbiz, as you know, you have to do an annual report every year.
Mm-hmm.
This is a one-time thing unless you change ownership.
Okay.
So Matt and I are partners, we have to do it, but if we don't have to update it until we bring in a new lawyer as a partner, right? Then we would have to update.
And this is registered with the federal government?
The federal government. They're using it to look for money laundering and patterns of criminal enterprises. And who knows what else they use it for. But that registration is separate from Sunbiz. And in fact, when you were filing your annual report, you would have seen Sunbiz saying you need to also do this beneficial ownership registration, and it's a completely separate thing.
Okay. And so that tracks all the money that you move through your businesses?
No, it doesn't track the money. It just tracks who the owners are and how much they own.
Okay.
But it's not the book owners; it's the beneficial owners. So it's who has control over the company.
Okay.
So again, it's
I'll find out my head.
so it gets tricky when you start looking at I own 25% of the company, you own 25% of the company, and a trust owns 25% of the company. Well, the trust isn't the owner, but are the beneficiaries of the trust the owner? Is the trustee the owner? That's where it's going to get really kind of a little more technical.
Okay.
And the question is going to be, and that question is going to be where people are really going to need to have attorneys helping them fill out the forms, because it's going to get really tricky. If it's not straightforward, I own half, you own half.
So after the initial filing of those forms,
Nothing you have to
there's
do.
nothing else. Okay, so you don't have to fill out your annual
Nope.
report.
Florida requires an annual report. This will not. The only time you have to update it is if you change ownership. So you don't have to do much. It's relatively simple once you've gotten it done. That you just keep it in your corporate book, showing that you registered, and that's it.
So do you foresee that this is going to unearth a lot of businesses that are unethical or laundering money?
I have no idea how they're going to use it. I assume they have a plan, but I don't know what that plan is. I assume they have something in this that they think that they will find. My suspicion is that they will put this into a database with 50 other points of data and come up with suspicions, and they'll use that. But I hate to say it, but I think it's real easy to lie on a form. And I think that what they're probably going to be using this for is as an additional charge when they do catch people. So it's kind of like the old joke on the FBI forms. Have you ever tried to overthrow the government? If you check yes, then they got you.
Yeah. So just remember not to check yes. Is
Yeah.
what you're saying?
If they ever ask, have you on an official government forum, have you ever tried to overthrow the government? First of all, don't try to overthrow the government. That's some free legal advice right there. But second of all, don't check yes, because then they'll know.
It's funny you said that, because I was going to ask you, how much do you charge for free legal advice?
For free legal advice, I charge nothing, but it's worth exactly what you pay for it. We do give consultations. We do give free consultations. I'm always happy to sit down with people and help. My malpractice carrier that really does look at what I can do in free consultation.
So what are your specialties? What are your areas? So like if somebody was coming to you with like a criminal problem, is that something you could handle?
No. So what will happen is if you come in with a criminal issue, I'll happily talk. I'll talk to anyone. My door's not open, but my phone line is open. I'm happy to talk to people. I'm happy to be a resource, because not a lot of people know what an attorney is really kind of how I feel about it. So I'll talk to anyone, and if I can't help, usually I know somebody who can. So I don't do criminal law, for example, but I know some excellent attorneys who do,
Okay.
and I'm happy to pass their information. I don't do family law. I don't do litigation, but I know excellent attorneys who do, and I'm happy to talk to somebody and say, listen, I can't help you, but let me give you the name of somebody who can, and let me put you in touch with them.
So you're really just mostly real estate, focused in
I
background.
focus on, so my firm focuses on a couple of things. I focus on real estate and business primarily.
Okay.
Purely transactional. I don't handle any litigation, but I do on the business side, in addition to all these FinCEN filings, I help people start new businesses with formation of entities. I help with operating agreements. I help with contracts, management agreements, or service agreements, employment agreements. I do a lot of employee agreements. I do a lot of non-disclosure agreements, non-solicitation agreements, things like that. We also handle probate. We handle estate planning, obviously with wills and trusts and advance directives for college kids and parents as well, and people without kids. And then we also do probate. We do Medicaid planning. So our firm covers a lot of things that people need, and then what we don't do, we have people who can.
Okay. Getting back to something a little more personal, I know you are a member of the Advocacy Council on
Yes.
the Chamber. So I wanted to ask you, like, what are you passionate about, advocating for? What is, what really tugs at you to advocate for it?
What really tugs at me? So I'm the co-chair of the Advocacy Council, which if you're a chamber member meets the second Friday of every month on Zoom, and you should come because I always pump it. I always try to get new members to come to our meetings, if only because I feel like it's one of the best places to be for an hour on Friday. What am I really passionate about? That's a tough question. I'm passionate about a lot of things. I really believe one of the things I'm really most passionate about, one of the things I've really pushed the chamber to do more of, is I believe in engagement. And I believe, I'm not going to tell you how to vote. If you ask me really nicely, I will. I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but I really think it's important that people vote. I think engagement is important. I think it's really important that people get out there and they get there and they make their voices heard. I think it's important that people understand what they're voting for, that we put quality candidates on ballots. One of the things I do every 2 years, and I'm going to get ready to do this starting in September this year, is we put out a nonpartisan informational presentation on the ballot amendments. What it does, what a yes vote does, what a no vote does. Status quo today, how the amendment would change it. We do kind of what I like to think is a very even-handed presentation about it. We don't advocate for one position or the other, but we tell you what a vote for or against it would do. And I do that because the ballot amendments are not always easy to understand. And I feel that
you need to be an attorney to kind of figure it out.
You need to be an attorney. And sometimes even I don't fully understand them because they're worded so complicated. It's so complicated. And I really am passionate. I really advocate for people voting and not just picking the first name on the ballot because they can't be bothered to read all the names. Who do you want as your elected official? Is it the person who just got lucky and happened to have the first name alphabetically, or is it the person who actually does what you want? And that's one of the big things I'm passionate about.
And how do you disseminate that information after you've kind of compiled it?
We offer it as a presentation to groups if they want. I'm happy to come in. The length of the presentation varies based on how many amendments there are. A couple of years ago, it was a 35, 40-minute presentation because there were 12 amendments on the ballot. Last year or 2 years ago, there were 2. It was 10 minutes. So it really varies based on that. Right now, we're looking at 4, and they're a little more complicated, so you're looking at probably about a 20, 30-minute presentation. But we'll also put it on Facebook. It'll be on our Facebook page. It'll be on our YouTube channel. It'll be on, I'll have clips of it on TikTok, because I'm on TikTok. And make some really fun videos where I explain legal matters, without dancing. But because nobody wants to see me dance, trust me.
So you say.
But I'll put it out there. I'll make sure I try to get it around. That's one thing I believe in is information. I don't need you to agree with me. Though it'd be great if you all did. I don't need you to agree with me, but I do want you to make an informed decision.
Okay. I know we're getting close to being out of time, so I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Throwback.
Mm-hmm.
Desert Island Discs. What would be your top 3 choices of music if you were stranded on a deserted island? Top
3 choices. So I have to pick like the albums?
The albums, the group, the songs, whatever you want to listen to.
It would be
until you're rescued.
Okay, so I just kind of thought about this recently. It would be AC/DC, a collection of AC/DC. It would be the 1987 Into the Woods Broadway cast album, not any of the newer ones. Those 2, and then probably I have those 2, and probably maybe something from the New York Philharmonic, or just have some fun with it. Maybe some Taylor Swift. She's got a pretty large collection. I could probably find something to listen to in there.
She'd probably end up having a tour then.
She'd probably rescue me. If I listen to enough of her albums, she'll probably come and rescue me. But another band I like is Hot Pink Hangover. isn't around anymore, but they're a lot of fun.
Okay, all right, well, I think that wraps up our time. Thank you, Dustin, I appreciate it. Thank you everyone for watching, and again, we're here at Najana Mediterranean Grill, so come on and join us for lunch if you're in the area.
Thank you.